Welcome back to Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment. Every other week, I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we're so glad that you're back with us today. Today, it's hometown crime because Merry Christmas Eve if you celebrate Christmas. Even if you don't celebrate Merry Christmas Eve, we celebrate.
Yeah,
so we'll wish you that. And you can wish us, happy Festivus or whatever it is. Solstice or whatever it is that you celebrate.
You know what? At the risk of being crass, just, holiday time.
It's totally fine.
Holidays.
Yes. Just because that's what we celebrate. We're happy to support you in whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate.
Mm-hmm. I am up for any excuse for a holiday. Any excuse for a holiday, I'm there.
Any excuse to put this stuff in a mug?
Hello.
I am totally with it. Oh, I'm supposed to drink.
Yeah, I can't salute without actually, doing
You have to drink it. It's bad luck if you don't drink.
That's right. That's right. Whew. Yes.
So
I'm so excited because I was reading through these and it's just so exciting. Our listeners have sent in some gems.
Oh, fantastic stories.
They're great.
So, yes. They are. They're super fun. Would you like to start?
Should I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This one's really sad. But it's a really, I feel like a documentary needs to be made. Okay, so this is from Angie.
Okay.
And so Angie sent this in, and it's an old case from her hometown, and she says it's creepy for sure. Okay, so in September of 1988, in Illinois, 7-year-old Jaclyn Dewallaby went missing. So they were wondering, did an intruder break a window, gain entry from the basement, back door left open? What happened? Conflicting statements about this led police to question Jacqueline's adopted father, David, and her mother, Cynthia, which, of course, we all know.
Well, that first suspect's always the parents.
Always. Every single time.
Usually the dad, always the parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then radiating out from there, right? Mm-hmm. So the couple did become the prime suspects after being questioned, but a witness claimed to see a man at night during the time of the disappearance.
Really?
I mean, this is... I've been writing papers obsessively, and I no longer know how to speak. I should just type this.
Oh. Well.
I'm just kidding. Okay. A witness claimed to see a man at night during the time of Jacqueline's disappearance who fit David's description. Oh. So this, turned the meter a little bit towards him. And he also described a car that matched Cynthia's vehicle. So all of this was very condemning and open and shut, right? But not so much. There wasn't enough evidence to bring Cynthia up on charges. David ended up being convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 45 years in jail, which she hadn't said this in the story yet, but that was confirmation that, in fact, they did find Jacqueline's body eventually, and she was murdered. So that was really, really sad. And Cynthia always believed her husband to be innocent. So she set about to set him free. And the prosecution had made procedural mistakes, and the defense looked into the witness more. His name was Everett Mann, and he claimed to see David in Cynthia's car, but his story had changed several times. So he had claimed to see David in Cynthia's car, but initially it was just he'd seen a suspect only at a profile and at 75 yards away.
Wow.
And that Cynthia's car was seen far from the site of the body on the night of question. And Mann was found to also be suffering from bipolar. And that was kept out of all of the documentation. So David's conviction actually was overturned and he was released.
Wow.
Okay, so another initial suspect was Jacqueline's uncle.
Okay.
All right, get this. This is her biological father's brother. His name was Jimmy Giss. Okay. He had initially been questioned and been suspected of because he had been suspected of trying to kidnap this girl in the past. Already. But he had an alibi. But Jimmy's alibi recanted her statement, saying that she had covered for him as she was convinced that Jacqueline's parents were responsible. So there were never any charges levied against Guess, and when he died in 2002, the trail went cold, and the killer of Jaclyn Dewallaby remains unknown.
Wow. Aww.
I feel like this is an unsolved mysteries case
waiting
to happen here.
Oh, I want to watch that episode. Man.
I think there's just there's more going on here.
There is. Well, the fact that they just didn't follow. Well, I mean, I guess they thought they had an alibi for that guy, right?
They had an alibi
for the uncle.
But you have to wonder how hard they really pressed this alibi. Because they had such an easy open, shut, closed case.
Right.
Right? Like, I think that made it easier. I mean, when you find a child who's been kidnapped and murdered, you find the body, you want somebody to pay, and you want it, like, yesterday.
Right.
You know? And so I can imagine that, like, having a witness who describes somebody in the general description of the prime suspects or the parents, who are always the prime suspects initially, I could see how it'd be easy. But amazing. I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, it's one thing for a wife to set out to set her husband free, but it's a whole other thing for them to actually make a case that gets their conviction overturned.
Yeah.
That's big.
That is big. That's
kind of big.
Difficult and rare, I think.
Yeah. And she doesn't, okay, so Angie doesn't tell us anything about David except that it's the adopted father.
Okay.
But we also don't see any, like, prior issues. There's not, like, a rap sheet on David.
Well,
or
and there's
Cynthia.
not like they've called Child Protective Services or something like that. There's been issues in the past.
Exactly. So I don't know how they zeroed in on him so heavily when especially they had this evidence saying that the biological uncle had actually tried to kidnap this girl before.
Well, and you don't want to not believe the witness who pointed their finger at this guy just because he had some mental illness.
Well, yeah. I feel like it's more pertinent that they left it out.
Yeah.
Like that they tried to hide it.
Yeah, that they didn't say, oh, by the way, this person's had mental issues in the past, but we believe them to be telling the truth here.
Right, because, well, I mean, there's nothing about bipolar disorder that inherently makes a person more susceptible to lying.
No.
However, it could make them more susceptible to exaggeration if they were found to be in a manic state at the time. And so even if he had, like, there's a difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so bipolar 1 is what everybody thinks of when they think of what we used to call manic depressive. Right? Really, really high highs and really, really low lows. And sometimes those high highs are, you know, just really out there, you know, thrill seeking, even psychotic breaks, hallucinations. Like, it's just, you know, it's what people think of when you say that person is crazy. Like, this is actually kind of where the stereotype comes from. But, you know, bipolar 2 is a little different. Bipolar 2 means that you have really dark, dark lows and what we call hypomanias, which is like not so manic.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of times because of the nature of it, a lot of bipolar 2 patients aren't quite seen to be bipolar 2. There just seems to be like they have major depression. But what it is like a mix of the two. So what happens is when they have a hypomania, they're actually just super productive. They're happier. They're more relational. And so to a lot of people around them, it actually can be kind of like, ooh, this is great. They're back to being super productive and they're back to being super loving and they're back to being whatever. And a lot of people might miss the fact that actually it's a hypomania kind of state that they're in and that they're about to crash into a really, really deep depression. So anyway, complete digression. But all I'm saying is that the fact that this guy had bipolar does not mean that he was like more apt to lie.
Yeah.
But I could envision a story of this guy coming forward and saying, hey, I saw this guy. It was like 75 yards away, but it did seem from a distance to look like this person. And that did seem like her car. And I'm just telling you what I saw. And then the police going, hey, open and shut. Are you sure it wasn't this guy? Are you sure it wasn't David? In which case you have some really bad police technique there, you know, and it could be really easily swayed in Everett's mind that, oh yeah, you know what? I guess that was him. Yeah. You know what? The more I think about it, the more it does look like him. I could see that happening. I could see maybe how bipolar might make him more impressionable. But the truth is, We're all impressionable to that.
Well, and that's the truth.
All are.
Yeah.
Especially when we want justice.
Well, and we've talked about that on the show before.
We have.
How that, eyewitness accounts are routinely unreliable.
Routinely. It's really bad, y'all.
Yeah.
It's really
bad. We don't remember things as well as we think we do.
We're more influenced than we realize we are.
Yeah.
And it's a survival technique.
And just the way questions get asked.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Bleeding.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you saw him from far away and he had a prominent feature.
So kind of like David did?
Yeah, or like this guy?
Yeah. I mean, you could just be something as simple as like, did I have a nose like David, her father?
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, like 10 minutes later, you could be like, that was David.
Yeah. It was that guy, for sure. Aww.
Anyways, but it's sad that there wasn't justice for real.
Yeah.
But I am glad that if David was innocent, that Cynthia didn't give up.
Right.
Even after losing her daughter.
Right.
And that at least justice was served by overturning a false conviction.
Yeah. Even if they didn't ever get to get justice for poor little Jacqueline.
Yep.
Just 7. Poor baby.
So sad.
Yeah.
So sad. So thank you, Angie, for sharing this story with us. And we do hope that Unsolved Mysteries picks it up.
Morbidly. And we recognize that.
Yes, we are a morbid bunch. We totally embrace it.
All right. Well, I have a story from good friend of the show, Medrith.
Oh, yes.
Yes. She sent one in. So, in 1979 in San Antonio, the Fiesta celebration was well underway. Back then, people would camp out in campers and RVs and tents on Broadway, which is a main road in San Antonio, for a good spot to see the last big parade of the season. On Broadway at Grayson Street, there was parked a green and white Winnebago for a couple of days. All seemed fine. April 27th, over 300,000 people gathered in the downtown area of San Antonio to celebrate the Battle of Flowers. It celebrated the Battle of San Jacinto, the so-called turning point in the Texas Battle for Independence. If you have not taken Texas history, this is helpful information.
This is a big thing, too.
Yeah,
it's a big thing.
Huge, yeah. Around 1 p.m., the first shots were heard. Several police officers were the first to go down, and then more than 50 were injured in the following hour before the suspect was stopped. 2 died from their wounds caused by gunshots. Over 30 were injured by bullets but survived, and more than 20 sustained injuries from trying to run away. Ira Attenbury, a 64-year-old veteran with apparent mental health issues, opened fire on innocent partygoers and eventually turned the gun on himself.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, terrible, right? Upon further inspection, the man had hoarded weapons and ammunition in his attempt to kill. It had apparently been planned. He had a paranoia that police were watching him regularly, and it is thought that seeing all of the police on the parade route triggered his paranoia into retaliation. After the events, the city announced the cancellation of the parade and took care of those who were injured, took statements from those who saw what happened, and tried to recover a sense of security in our city. Other events for Fiesta that year continued as planned.
Of course they did.
Of course they did. 2019 was the 40th anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That was the only other time there was really an interruption to Fiesta, right?
Yes. So
enter 2020.
Yeah, exactly. So Fiesta is supposed to be in the springtime, like in April. Mm-hmm. And it's a huge party. It's a huge fundraiser for a lot of local organizations. This is like the one thing they do. They sell medals or they have an event. And this is like the one big fundraiser that they do. Mm-hmm. And it funds their activities for an entire year. And it was supposed to be in April. And then they said, oh, we'll do it in November. Which you think, oh, November. No, November in San Antonio, very nice.
Seriously, it's beautiful.
Like, it could be cold.
It could be nicer than April.
It could be nicer than April.
Because I've marched in that Battle of Flowers parade in April, and it was over 100 degrees.
Uh-huh.
And it was humid, and it was hard.
Yeah. Well, and you never know. April, you probably won't be freezing, but you can get close.
You could.
Or it can be over 100. It can also be in the 90s
Yeah.
in November. So you just never know. So those are both decent times. But then, of course, COVID didn't get better. So they canceled it entirely for this year.
Completely canceled it.
Oh, so awful.
Which I hope that makes all the medals from 2020 more valuable.
I hope
that businesses
so.
are able to sell it as kind of a unique, like, oh, look, it was the only time that we didn't have it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
I know
man.
there were many, many medals ordered for many, many organizations because they all come from China.
Oh, yeah.
Just because that's the only way you can do these, like, cloisonne sort of medals. At any way you can make them affordable enough to
actually make
them
money on them.
Exactly.
Seriously. And a lot of businesses, this is big economy.
Right.
There's a lot of big...
Well, they rely on the people being downtown because they sell food or they sell themed goods or just more traditional sorts of goods.
Yeah.
Oh, so sad.
It is sad. It's really sad.
It is sad.
That's a good one. You know what? It's so sad to hear that this guy was, triggered and lashed out that way. But it is pretty amazing how the police responded and did restore security.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, you have another one for us?
I do have another one. I do. Okay, so I have to mention this is from Sam, and this is from the Booze Podcast.
Yeah.
Who is a local podcast. So they deal with everything macabre.
Yeah.
So this is a very true San Antonio podcast.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
This is our tribe, people. So check out Booze Podcast. All right. So they sent in this, and I was reading it, and this first paragraph. Let me just read this. Blah, blah, blah. I knew I had a good one for y'all. I'm going to keep details a little vague in regards to names and locations, given that they can still possibly be a threat to my family. But here we go. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
What?
Thank you.
And then the next sentence is darkly hysterical. So my family in Mexico, and I knew exactly where this was going.
Yeah.
Because I have a thing about TV shows and movies that are based on cartels. And so as soon as
like you watch a lot of them or you don't like them at all?
I can't stand them.
So you've never seen Narcos?
No, I can't. I even started to because everybody was like, you gotta watch this show. And I was like, no, I can't even. And so when I read this, I just had this like spidey sense, right? Of like, oh, it's gonna threat to my family in Mexico. I was like, this is gonna be a cartel story. And sure enough, it was. I have seen Breaking Bad though, so y'all just back off. It's okay. I have seen Breaking Bad. All right, I continue. So my family in Mexico, Sam writes, unfortunately ran with a drug cartel. I don't know which one. Getting details from my family is like pulling teeth, but things got sticky and a lot of my family fled for safety. Unfortunately, not everyone in my family fled. My uncle on my grandmother's side was a very successful, quote, businessman.
Oh, jeez.
If you catch my drift, Sam writes.
Yeah.
We're talking millionaire. When things got sticky, he held his ground and refused to move. Little piece of me is like, good on him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of on his side right now. All right, so the cartel didn't like this. They were already upset. They kidnapped his oldest son. He was in his 20s. Not being able to go to the police or able to track down his son, he had to wait and wait. And about 2 weeks passed, and then they finally discovered his body. And he had very obvious signs of torture.
Oh, that's the worst part of any of those cartel shows is when they torture somebody.
Oh, it's just.
I can't watch it. I always have
awful.
to fast forward through it. Any kind of torture scenes I can't take.
It's just awful, right?
Yeah.
So Sam writes, I can't even imagine what they might have done to him. Not long after my uncle's home was ransacked, no one has ever been straightforward with me on if they got a hold of my uncle as well. Pretty sure they did. So they don't have contact with that side of the family anymore for obvious reasons,
Thank
quote
goodness.
unquote. Given that the police in the area and the cartel were working together at the time, it was covered up, which is not uncommon.
No,
sad to
but
say. This is part of the largest obstacles that we face this side of the border. You know, up in El Norte, it's hard to deal with this because the whole web of interaction is just so different. And that's just really difficult. But the real kicker is Sam didn't learn about this until a year ago.
Wow.
When, quote, my aunt let it slip while we were chatting on the phone one day.
Oh.
I've been digging through records, marriage certificates, birth certificates, death records, everything. But because it's all in Spanish and no one will talk, trying to figure out the truths and what other secrets my family may have has been one heck of a job. I'm hoping one day I can get someone drunk enough at a family gathering to spill some more beans.
Wow. All right. What can I recommend? Cafecito to get someone drunk enough.
Salud. Which is not Spanish, but
no,
I have an Italian
one of those
background, so. But it conveys.
It's one of those Latin-based languages.
Right. All of them. Salud.
Yeah.
This is so interesting. Like, this is exactly the fears I think I have when I watch drug cartel, like, media. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, it's disempowering.
Well, and that's fair.
There's just no power.
Well, because there's no way to beat it. The people's worst impulses.
Well, and the pressures. People are doing things they wouldn't do because of pressure that's on them that's not their fault. And what do we expect all of these families to just stand up and be like heroes or kamikaze? Like, that's what it would take for a lot of these families to just not be involved. That's
right.
What's so hard. It's like, I mean...
you can't just say no to a drug cartel.
You can't. And that's kind of the problem is I feel powerless for these people and there's no way, there's no justice system. There's no there's a justice system. Let me say that. Let me back up. There are plenty of officers and police officers and administration officials and all kinds of professionals. See, I've been in school a lot lately. All kinds of professionals in Mexico who are working so hard against this all of the time. But a lot of even the police that are wrapped up in this are doing it because they themselves are powerless. And so I'm just broken for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Like the bad actors very often didn't start out as bad actors.
No.
And people who don't want to be bad actors fear for their life, their family's life, their health and safety.
Exactly. And so there's just...
It's so
where's McClane?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I need the superhero.
We need some Die Hard to help us out here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard. Which may be why I like Breaking Bad. Because, let's be frank, it's very Americanized in its viewpoint.
Right. And it really... doesn't glorify it as much.
It doesn't, and yet it still accomplishes the not everybody's just good or bad. So you it makes it a little more palatable because there's still like this good and bad mix, but also kind of there's some empowerment in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
It's an interesting mix, isn't it?
It is.
Every time we watch one of these shows, Narcos, Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, something like that, my husband will look at me and he'll say, you know, I've been thinking.
Lord.
I'm thinking I should join a motorcycle gang. That looks like a good idea. My husband's not the motorcycle gang type. Not even a little. But every time, you know, I've been thinking I should buy a Winnebago and start cooking meth. Every time.
I have a Christmas gift idea that I wish I'd known about this. I'll just have to bring it up and show it to you.
Yeah, you will.
And then you can save it for like a birthday gift.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I have one more hometown crime
I can't
that
wait
I'm
to
going
hear
to
it.
read. This one's from Athena. The politically incorrectly named Midget Mansion is one of the most beloved urban legends in San Antonio, Texas.
You gotta give me a second.
Yeah, Midget Mansion.
Like
the M word is not one that's we use anymore.
No, we don't.
Because it's offensive.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a heck of a title.
Yeah. All right. So the area in question is now believed to be the Promontory Point Apartments in San Antonio, Texas Medical Center. So it's on the other side of town from where we are.
I've driven by, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My husband used to live in apartments not far from there.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Okay.
So the mansion was built by Navy captain after his military retirement in the 1920s, and he'd taken a shine to San Antonio after a visit. The captain and his wife didn't live in San Antonio very long. Their fate is long lost to history, and the lavish home was sold to another family. And here's where things take a turn. The husband and wife in the family of 4 were said to be little people with 2 average-statured young daughters. Accounts conflict if he was a successful businessman or if he made a fortune in Hollywood films. As with the patriarch's employment, stories differ about the murders that purportedly happened in the home. Some accounts state that the father went mysteriously mad and either shot or slit the throats of his family. He then dressed them in fresh clothing before putting their bodies in a closet and turning the murder weapon, whatever it was, on himself. Another account suggests that the home was remodeled to suit the small stature of the parents, low counters, doorknobs, and toilets, among other things. But the household staff were all of average height. The staff was treated poorly by the family, and they rebelled, killing the family, robbing the home, and then setting it on fire.
Oh, okay.
The mansion was vacant for many years and became a hangout for erstwhile teens. Neighbors would call the police, sometimes to report the graffiti and shenanigans of the teens, sometimes to report screams or noxious fumes emanating from the property. The sources of the screams and fumes were not found. People reported seeing a small, translucent woman at the abandoned home at all times of day. The names of the family have seemed to have gone unreported, so it's possible that this is an urban legend with few facts behind it. That said, most of these stories have at least some degree of truth. It's fun to imagine a long-gone mansion haunted by the spirit of a tiny matriarch.
Interesting. I mean, wow.
Yeah, but I think that we don't know the names and stuff. I think
that makes it...
It's kind of sus.
Yeah.
As our children would say.
I guess.
It's a little sus. But the mansion that they were talking about, like, it really did exist. And there's pictures, Flickr pictures of it, though not of the inside.
So we don't know anything.
So we don't know
it.
if the counters were lowered or had low doorknobs or low ceilings or anything.
Well, and I have to admit, counters and doorknobs and all of these things were actually much lower a long time ago anyways.
Well, because people were shorter.
Mm-hmm. And people, my house, which is only like 1953.
Right.
But that first ceiling when you walk in.
Pretty low.
Like, that's low. And, older homes just have, lower counters and all of that.
Yeah. So it's difficult to know. But if you want to read some accounts of this or of most of the hometown crimes from today, I have articles to almost everything because I'm nosy. And so you can find us on Facebook, Killer Fun Podcast, exploring the intersection of crime and entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod, or you can send me an email, killerfunpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send you whatever links you would like.
Yes.
So, yes, very interesting.
Very interesting. So awesome. I'm so happy that that we were able to read these 4 hometown murders. Thank you for everyone who sent something in.
Yes,
amazing.
We so appreciate it. And if we read your hometown crime on our show today, everyone who we read today is getting a 2020 ornament. So,
yay! Surprise!
I had 4. So we read 4 and we're mailing them out. So
awesome.
Keep an eye on your mail for that.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're going to take a real quick break, but come back because we have our own hometown crime stories. Mm-hmm. We have stupid criminals. And there's a popular Christmas song that has a murderous twist that you might not have realized. So you're going to want to stick around for that.
I'm Kim.
And I'm Ashley.
And we host True Crimes and Weird Times, where we answer questions like...
Did the government really kill Danny Casolaro?
Did you know that the movie Scream was based on an actual serial killer?
How much do you know about skinwalkers?
Join us every Wednesday for your weekly dose of true crimes,
The unexplained,
and the just plain weird.
Check out our website, truecrimesweirdtimes.com.
Find us on Instagram and Facebook.
And listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
So come check us out.
We'll be waiting.
Do you like coffee?
Love it.
Do you like true crime?
Absolutely love it.
Then Crime with My Coffee would be a great way to add a little bit of both to your day. We are a mother-daughter duo, and we take turns telling each other about a different true crime case each week over a cup of coffee. So why don't you head on over to www.crimewithmycoffee.com and give us a listen.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us through that quick break. All right, I wrote mine out just like everybody else who sent in a hometown crime.
Okay, like you're going to read it out.
So I'm going to read it.
Okay, tell me a story. Tell me a story.
I'm going to tell you a story. Cocaine and greed are a bad mix. I mean, I think that's true always, but this story, very indicative of that. On a weekend in September of 1993, Virginia and Rodolfo Rodriguez hosted a large family gathering in their home in San Antonio, Texas. Rodolfo, 72, was making an effort to set his great-nephews on a more productive path. He showed the two young men, Jesse and Lupe Hernandez, that they could be successful legally like he was with his check-cashing business, as evidenced by jewelry he was able to have in his home. Sadly, this was a mistake. Later that week, Jesse and Lupe were at home in Carrollton, a town just outside of Dallas. They, joined by their new close friend, Arnold Pietro, were on a cocaine bender. Jesse was just a couple days shy of his 17th birthday and dating Arnold's sister, Lydia, also 16 and pregnant. Lupe is Jesse's older brother. Arnold was lamenting his recently lost job at a warehouse and wondering how he was going to pay the bills for he and his wife, Frances. All the men were strapped for cash, but not too strapped to buy what seemed like what must have been a mountain of cocaine. Why is that? Why can people, I guess it's just priorities.
It's priorities.
Fueled by desperation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that's why you can afford drugs and not food
like
for
rent.
your kids or rent or car payments or whatever.
I think so.
That's a shame. Having just seen the jewelry and believing that there was also quite a bit of cash at the home of their great aunt and uncle, the Hernandez brothers and friend Arnold decided that the easiest way to get a large amount of quick cash was to rob their family. The three men drove 4.5 hours to San Antonio to the home of Virginia and Rodolfo Rodriguez, where they lived with family friend Paula Moran, 90. And Paula was the nanny. She was nanny to these people's kids when they were little, and she wasn't married and didn't have family, so they just she just lived with them.
Oh,
this was this is the kind of people these people were.
Yeah,
so sweet, right?
So kind.
This visit was unexpected, and the trio arrived at the home in the early morning hours, but they weren't turned away. Virginia, 62, welcomed the three young men in and made them fresh tortillas, scrambled eggs, and juice. Her openness was met with no thanks at all. All three of the elderly residents were stabbed to death shortly after the meal was finished. Jesse pointed the finger squarely and solely at Arnold. Arnold's account had Lupe starting the violence with Virginia, who died from 31 stab wounds with a knife. Jesse then handed Arnold a screwdriver, and he admitted to stabbing Rodolfo, who died from 17 stab wounds with the tool. Arnold said that Jesse was responsible for the death of elderly Paula, who heard the commotion and exited her room at the wrong moment. She succumbed to 8 stab wounds, possibly inflicted with an ice pick. And we just talked about ice picks when we talked about Pilgrim.
Yeah, we did.
And how, those are some nasty, nasty wounds.
Yes, they are.
Ugh. The trio left the home with only a small amount of jewelry. Rodolfo had evidently not gotten the reaction that he hoped for from his great-nephews and moved most of it to another location after the weekend get-together, and $300 in cash from the purse of the women. So they did it for basically nothing.
Nothing.
It took an anonymous call to a Crime Stoppers hotline 6 months after the murder for the police to look into Arnold and the Hernandez brothers. Initially, charges were brought against all three men. Jesse, because he was 16 at the time of the murders, was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. He will be eligible for parole in 2035. Literally, it was like 2 days before his birthday when they started driving, and the morning of the murders, it was the day before his 17th birthday.
Oh.
I mean, so young to do
young.
something so heinous and to be so addicted to drugs.
It's awful. That's very intentional. That kind of crime is like overkill.
Yeah.
This is not a robbery.
No.
This is not a robbery.
Arnold was 18 at the time of the murders. He was found guilty and sentenced to the death penalty. Lupe had all his charges dropped, with the prosecutors citing insufficient evidence. He was released and has not issued a statement of any kind.
In Texas? Because we have covered this before. How you can be assigned the death penalty for collaboration.
Yeah, there's more to the story, but I just don't know what it is. And I wasn't able to find it. I know.
There's something else going on here.
Mm-hmm. Arnold was offered a plea deal in 2000. He could have his sentence reduced to 2 30-year sentences if he would agree to provide testimony against Lupe in the murders. Arnold refused, saying he feared for his safety in prison and the safety of his family.
What?
Arnold died by lethal injection in January of 2015, and the Rodriguez home has been torn down.
Oh, another unsolved mysteries.
I mean, really.
This is not done.
Well, it's not done.
That is not done.
I mean, on the one hand, you're like, Arnold, dude, you're already in jail.
Here.
You're already gonna die. But I think he was worried about dying a much more painful and lingering death.
Yeah, but
Lupe is well connected in some way. Maybe having to do with Sam's hometown crime.
Yeah. Right?
They might not be that dissimilar.
It may not be that dissimilar. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was super sad.
That's
But it was
super
kind
sad.
of long enough ago too that it's not as scary.
Yeah, it's not as scary, but
But like the 90s, like I lived in San Antonio and I think I remember hearing about this on the news.
Oh my gosh.
Like before they caught him.
No.
A family of 3 was murdered. 3 elderly people were murdered in their home.
So sad.
Yeah.
Oh, after making them breakfast and everything.
Breakfast.
I mean, how do you do that?
Lots and lots of cocaine.
Well, and this is why I think that I almost think that no, you can't be that. You can't be that. I mean,
I'm thinking maybe Jesse and Arnold, not so much.
I think they were intent on murder.
No, I don't know that it was so much them intent on murder as them.
No?
I think it was the other one was the ringleader, but I have no evidence to that. That's just my gut feeling. But hopefully Lupe is out there as an upstanding citizen, living his best life.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Eek.
All right,
That's scary. Okay,
Tell me about yours.
Mine is not scary.
Okay, good.
Mine is funny.
Oh, good. Oh, thank goodness.
I wanted to get something really from my hometown, right? Like something close to home. Now, what I had to do though is I had to just search for things because I've kind of already in previous episodes covered, the stuff that was closest to like me and my experience. But there was something that happened in recent years. In my hometown.
But it's not scary because it's far away now.
Well, it's just funny.
Yeah, okay.
Dressed to the nines in a sharp suit, a man with jet black hair, curly hair, strolled into a Lilburn violin shop earlier this month, that was June 2015, and began to browse. Okay, first of all, who do you picture? Nice dressed man walking around, sharp suit. You know?
Well, honestly, what I'm picturing is Neil Caffrey from
Thank you.
White Collar.
Because as I began...
With the hat.
The fedora,
yes. That's what brings it in.
I am picturing the very, very same thing. So it was a busy Saturday at Ronald Sachs Violins on Pleasant Hill Road. Driven that road a lot.
Okay.
We called Cody Sisk, who is actually in Dallas now.
Okay.
Anyway, so connects to the Texas, an instrument maker at the business. And so Sisk said the man had his eye on one item in particular, which was a gorgeous violin made in 1781. And it was... $200,000.
Wow.
Like, I can't even get it out. It's just like,
that's like
sorry,
a
what?
house.
Yes.
That's a house.
For this violin. Okay. So when the man asked about it, he was obviously taken aback. He put the violin down and the employee went about his work, leaving the man to himself.
Okay. So you have a $200,000 violin and it's out where anybody can pick it up. And when somebody takes an interest in it, you walk away? I'm just making sure I understand that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Small violin shop on Pleasant Hill Road.
Okay.
With this really expensive violin. And I mean, who's thinking about this? So the police found it later. In a room at a Roswell extended stay hotel.
Like Roswell, New Mexico?
No. Roswell, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Not
okay.
Roswell, Georgia. Which is like NASA.
Sorry, I thought we had some alien abduction things happening all of a sudden.
Nope, it didn't go into the galaxy.
Okay.
No guardians required. Sorry.
That was a good one.
So police found it in a room in Roswell, Georgia at an extended stay hotel in a bust that, quote, shook up what some in the niche violin community are calling a, quote, theft. So I can't even get through this. A, quote, theft ring in Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Y'all, there was a giant theft ring of really expensive instruments across, like, middle-class towns all throughout, like, Lilburn, Roswell, up into Tennessee. Oh, see, I'm talking about home. Do you hear my accent?
I do hear it.
It's coming back. It does that, y'all. I can't even... Y'all just stay here. Hang tight. Okay.
A theft ring. Who knew there were that many valuable instruments?
Who knew? But the Violin Society of America tracks down stolen instruments to be sure they aren't sold and sent out an alert to members on Facebook before these suspects were arrested. Okay, that they did it. Now I'm going to show you a picture. Are you ready? These are the two individuals at the head of this theft ring.
Oh. Neither one of them. Okay, now I'm being very judgmental and basing things on stereotypes. Neither one of those men look like anybody who'd be playing a violin.
No, and this one over here, the bald man, he's the one who was wearing the wig and looked dressed to the nines. Now, I could see that in a different attitude. He doesn't look like Neil Caffrey. Thank you. I could see in a different attitude how he might be able to pull that off if he was just so. But Neil Caffrey, he is not.
No.
There is nothing Neil Caffrey could do to shed that image. And this is what I pictured when I read it, and this is the picture that came up, and I thought, well, now that's interesting. So, yeah, okay. So this goes on. Like, there's a whole thing about this. This went on forever, and there's all kinds of instruments involved.
What?
And, investigators also found 2 oboes, 2 trumpets, a clarinet inside the hotel room.
Who knew there were expensive oboes and clarinets? Other than the regular instruments, which are themselves fairly expensive, but to know that there are hundreds of thousands of dollars valuable ones. I mean, we've heard about Stradivarius violins.
Right. And I know that there's other ones. This other violin, I don't even know if I can pronounce it. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you, but it's Carlo Ferdinando Landolfi, I think Landolfi is, I kind of know the name, but yeah, these are very expensive instruments. Police recover $100,000 worth of musical instruments from a hotel. That was not including this violin.
Right.
This was another one among other several instruments in a hotel in Roswell. So in Roswell, Georgia, there was like this whole headquarters of this instrument theft ring that had been going on for quite a long time.
Wow.
Apparently. They have a number, by the way, if you have found that you have instruments that are missing. And I say this because it was only in 2015.
Right. Not that long ago.
I guess it could be possible that you might still be searching. But if you have news about this, you can actually go ahead and contact Detective Faribaugh at 770-640-4100. And go ahead and put a claim if that instrument.
Yeah, if you're missing a very valuable instrument.
Yes.
You're probably too hoity-toity to be listening to the show, but if you are...
Probably so. I'm going to say that. But I also remember a lot of my friends, and you know what? I think they might. They might just perfectly balance the hoity-toity and the macabre. And I think that they would very much enjoy this show if they're not listening. So,
okay.
But if they were, I think they could.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Good to know.
It's kind of really funny. I just couldn't believe it.
I'm just still floored that there's that many valuable instruments, not just in that part of the country, but just to think about how valuable. I mean, I never think of a valuable oboe.
I don't either. Violin, I guess it's just a little bit more mainstream, but you kind of think about how it's built and the artistry in the type of wood and how you have to bend the wood. And it feels to me like an oboe should be a far more straightforward situation. But the truth is, instruments...
They're complicated.
Yeah. I mean... And some of the ones that you think are not worth anything are the ones that are worth the most.
Right.
And it's just a whole thing.
Yeah. I just don't know any famous oboe players. Maybe that's why.
Probably not. I don't either.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're somebody who goes to the orchestra, the Philharmonic or whatever, in
you
your
might.
town,
I don't really listen to it on a regular basis. And so I don't know enough of the players.
Right.
You know, I just don't.
I appreciate it when, if I go to a live performance, it's not something, I want something I can sing along to. Let's just be honest.
Okay. Yeah. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like it from a dance perspective.
Yeah.
But I think, when I was dancing a lot, you'd get all kinds of various recordings. I don't think I only cared about the companies and their choreographies to this music.
Right.
I never really got into who was playing what where.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
My favorite line is niche violin community.
Who knew?
In the same sentence as theft ring.
Yeah. Wow.
Merry Christmas. So that's my hometown crime.
Cool. Very cool. All right. I have some stupid criminals.
I feel like that's a perfect segue from what I just talked about.
Because they're not stupid, but it's unusual.
That's true.
This is a little more stupid. How about the South Texas fajita bandit?
I love everything about what you just said.
I know. All three of these come from Texas Monthly. All three of them were reported by Dan Solomon, all from different years. Evidently, this was a part of his beat for quite some time. So this was from 2017. So the Cameron County Juvenile Justice Department, which I believe is down near Brownsville, so practically Mexico if you're not from here. I mean, you can stand in Brownsville and see Mexico.
Yeah, it's a border town.
It's right close, yeah. So the Juvenile Justice Department had been paying for fajita deliveries.
Okay.
Sounds legit, except... they don't serve fajitas in their cafeteria for their residents. So Labatt Food Service in August of 2017 tried to deliver fajitas to the kitchen, and the staffer who was there told them, "We don't serve fajitas. There's no reason why anybody should have placed this order." And the driver told the staffer that he was talking to that he'd been making deliveries of fajita meat for 9 years to this location. So they found out that an employee at the facility, Gilberto Escamilla, had been ordering the food. It had been paid for by the Juvenile Justice Department in Cameron County. And Escamilla had been intercepting these deliveries and selling them on the black market.
I didn't expect that black market.
Yeah, well, there's a black market for all kinds of stuff.
I fully expected you to say
lot
on
of
his
meat.
own food truck.
Oh, no.
But this is black market.
This was way more than that. Way more.
Oh my
so
gosh.
it wasn't like he was having cookouts every weekend.
Or just taking it for his own business.
He wasn't taking it for his own business. Over 9 years, it was $1.2 million worth of beef.
Oh my gosh.
And so he would have a client lined up. He'd place the order, get the order from the delivery, and take it to his client right away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of meat crime rings, at least in Texas. So if you search for any cut of meat with the word bandit after it, you can find a story about somebody who's been selling meat on the black market. So there's, this is the fajita bandit selling skirt steak. Brisket bandit, yep. Steak bandit, yep.
Oh my gosh.
Any kind of meat, there's a bandit for it.
So like Florida man and Texas meat bandit.
Yep.
This is a thing. Okay.
That's right.
All right. Wow.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then there's the car thieves from 2014 who tried to steal a car, and it was a unmarked detective vehicle. No. And the detective was in it. So it was like super early in the morning, and these two guys drove by in a Mustang and noticed that a car was running, turned around, and it was very darkly tinted windows, and so they didn't see the detective in the car. He opened the door as they were about to try and Slim Jim it and get in there. They were in a Mustang. The detective chased them. They crashed the car. The guy driving was injured, had to go to the hospital, but I guess he was going to be okay. And the guy who was on foot got away. But Dan Solomon says, presumably he'll be caught at some point, as indications currently suggest that he's not all that great at crime. Like, oops. Yeah, just like, a little more cash about it. Maybe make sure nobody's in the vehicle.
I mean, maybe
he
just
thought
not.
Somebody was warming up the car, because people do that here, which is not a thing you really need to do in modern cars in Texas weather generally.
If that were true, well, I guess I am showing my age, because I never have warmed up my car without a remote start.
Oh, there you go.
Because I didn't need to do that
Right.
until a time where remote starts were a thing. Mm-hmm. And so 2003?
Right.
I think was probably maybe
and
2002.
See, if your car was parked outside in Massachusetts, your car legitimately needs to be warmed up a little bit.
Absolutely, it does. But in general, in these days, that if you open that door and put your foot on the brake or gas, it's turning off.
Yes.
There's no key.
Exactly.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's not like somebody went out and started their car.
But I do remember that being a thing. I
Yeah.
remember not needing to do that, but also knowing that my mother was very worried about my warming up the car, because she had lived in Buffalo, as a young woman and for years. And so she knew that it was actually a problem, that, you needed to be able to maybe have an extra key, lock the door, get out so that you could keep it locked at least, or whatnot. But, it wasn't a thing I've ever had to deal with. So.
Yeah. And then there's the people who stole the Jay-Z tickets. So Jay-Z in December of 2019, in December of 2014 was playing at the Houston Toyota Center.
Okay.
So there was a Houston man who'd bought tickets and then found himself unable to use them.
Okay.
So he put them on Craigslist.
Like you do.
Yeah, maybe don't. But like you do. So he put them on Craigslist, came to an agreement with somebody, was meeting them to give them the tickets, and they stole the tickets from him and drove off. And he was still holding on to the car. And he got injured.
Oh.
And he was okay. But he did have a broken leg, a broken left arm, a broken right hand, a torn right knee, and road rash. Because he was really not wanting to give up those tickets. And they drove off and he was still holding on. Poor guy. I feel very, very bad for him. But they did it in a well-populated place. There were a whole bunch of witnesses. People wrote down the license plates.
Oh my
gosh.
They
called for ambulance right away. So he did have to go to the hospital, but he was okay.
Wow. See, Craigslist sale gone bad.
Yeah, maybe don't do that. But so they found out who had stolen the tickets because they had license. Ooh. And they decided, because the concert was that evening or the next day, really close to when this happened, they decided to just go to the concert and see who was sitting in the seats.
That's smart.
Thinking they sold the tickets and they would find out who they bought them from. No. The ladies who stole the tickets were sitting in the seats. That's what makes them stupid criminals.
Yeah, they went and they actually sat in the seats.
They sat in the seats that they stole the tickets to.
Awesome.
I mean,
knowing that the guy would know what seats they were and could report this to police. Wow, not smart. Not smart, ladies. Not smart.
Not even a little.
Not even close.
Mm-mm. All right, so now I'm going to tell you there's a song that you hear pretty much every Christmas time. Mm-hmm. Not Wham. Though I have been slayed.
Forewarned, we're not ruining anybody's game right now.
No, but I've already lost Whamageddon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm not going to do that because this comes out on Christmas Eve. And for those of you who are still in it, jealous. Anyway, so Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Oh, yes. A classic.
A classic, right?
Yeah.
You know, Grandma died. It's very sad. Let's first talk about Grandma herself. Here are some lyrics. She'd been drinking too much eggnog, and we'd begged her not to go, but she forgot her medication, and she staggered out the door into the snow. Then we found her Christmas morning at the scene of the attack. She had hoof prints on her forehead and incriminating claws on her back. Okay, so Grandma seems to either have a drinking problem and or have medication that she relies on. So somebody should be helping her remember her medication and maybe not drink so much.
Yeah, probably.
So, you know, there's some ownership there of her own poor behavior. But I would say maybe let's help the elderly people.
Yeah, let's
not, you know, end up in the snow.
Yeah.
And if, you know, Grandma stumbles out into the snow,
maybe just bring her back in.
In the evening, maybe let's not wait till the next morning to find her.
Absolutely fair.
Maybe find her before then.
Yeah.
Okay.
No negligent homicide here.
No. Okay, but then we have verse 2, which is where my whole nefarious theory is based. We're all so proud of Grandpa. He's been taking this so well. We see him there watching football, drinking beer, and playing cards with Cousin Belle. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Grandpa's not bereft.
No.
He's playing cards, watching football, drinking beer. Really having quite a lovely holiday.
Yep.
I'm thinking Grandpa and not Santa killed Grandma. I'm thinking she was a challenging person possibly to be married to. Grandpa's not upset. He's maybe feel like he's gotten a Christmas gift since he can now watch all the football he wants, drink all the beer he wants, and play all the cards he wants.
Very true. And everybody else seems sort of okay with this.
Well,
we're all proud of him for that. Was this like a conspiracy?
Maybe a little. But I'm thinking Grandpa's blaming it on Santa. And I don't think that Santa really has all that much to do with it. I don't think his reindeer attacked a little woman. I think Grandpa murdered Grandma.
Yeah. I mean, hello. They said she had like footprints on her forehead. then how would she have anything on her back?
Exactly. I mean, I guess she could have rolled.
I guess.
I'm telling you, I think that it was not Santa Claus. It was Grandpa who killed Grandma, and everybody else figures Grandpa's old enough that maybe he doesn't need to go to jail.
Maybe so.
Maybe Grandma wasn't that nice.
Maybe not.
So, there you go.
It's a country song, and therefore you have to have. I'm just kidding.
That's fair.
Only a country song would tell this damn story. Am I right? Am I right? It's ridiculous.
Is anybody carving their name into Santa's sleigh? Oh, we're mixing country songs with poor behavior all over the place.
I was drunk the day Grandma, whatever,
all right.
got out of prison. Sorry, that is a song, by the way. Okay. All right, like, listen.
What song is that? I don't know. I don't listen to a country.
You don't have to call me by my name. Oh my gosh!
I don't listen to country music. I'm sorry.
Well,
I know I need to turn in my.
Well, we're gonna have to play that song when we're done. It's a song about you. Well, it's just a country western song, and then there's this like extra verse where the author kind of says, I sent this to whatever and said, I think I've written the perfect country song. And they said, no, you have to mention Grandma and the rain and your trunk and your truck, a train and being drunk. And so he wrote this hilarious last verse to appease the country gods.
Nice.
And it's really funny. And it is meant to be a comical song.
Excellent.
So, just FYI, but played proudly in Waffle Houses everywhere.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Well, that's all we have. 2020 in the books.
Oh, praise God.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Let's hope that
let's hope
2021 is a little smoother,
yes,
a little better. It's going to start off bumpy.
It's going to start off bumpy.
We're going to hold out hope.
That's right.
That it's going to get better. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be any of this like we started 2020. This is our year. None of that crap. We're not doing that. We learned our lesson that we can't do that.
Yeah, no. It's going to be a bumpy takeoff, but I think
it'll be all right.
Afterburners are coming on, and we're going to hit some smooth skies.
That's right. So next time,
yes,
we are taking a little bit of a break, but that doesn't mean we don't have something new and fun for you. We are going to do an outtakes episode, so there will be new and never before heard on the show stuff for you. That'll be super, super fun. And then the time after that, we're still going to be on break.
Yes,
because we need it. I need it.
We all need it.
We need it. You need it. I need it. We need it. We're going to do a revisit of one of our favorite episodes of 2020.
Yes.
And then we'll be back with you in early February. We're going to talk about Killing Eve.
Cannot wait. It's going to be fabulous.
I binged the entire series. I mean, everything that's out thus far is so good.
I can't wait. It's going to be great.
It's so good. Oh my gosh. So if you're missing us, we have 74 episodes in our back catalog.
Yes, go listen. Catch up.
But let me tell you, our recording quality does improve in May of 2019. So just know that if you want ones that sound better and we have more of an idea of what we're doing, maybe start there.
That's completely fair.
Our first couple episodes, we didn't really know what we were doing.
No, but
if you want to laugh.
I was about to say, but we are still delightful.
We are delightful.
Absolutely.
They were funny and weird.
Yeah.
But fun and hard to follow, so don't try and follow it too hard. But just know that you'll go and you'll laugh and it's fun.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you the merriest of Christmas, the happiest of holidays, and a wonderful new year. And we will see you in February of 2021.
Yes. Until then, be safe, be kind, and wash your hands.
Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum. Da, da, da.